What's going on, everyone? June here with Hapa英会話, and joining me today is Kelly. Hey, Kelly, how you doing today?
I am doing great. Hi, guys.
So today, Kelly, let's talk about the difference between I like to study English versus I like studying English. So this is whether you use the infinitive or you use the gerund. It's pretty confusing, isn't it? I mean, I think even for native speakers, we use the infinitive form sometimes, and the other times we use gerunds. So today, I just want to talk about how we differentiate these two different forms and if there are any specific times where one is preferred over the other. So for you, Kelly, I like to study English versus I like studying English. Is there a difference to you?
So this is either going to be an answer you love or an answer you hate. Pretty much exactly the same. I like studying English. I like to study English. Both of those for me as a native speaker, same level of formality, same meaning, not too casual, not too slang. For me, they're exactly the same.
All right. So yeah, that's exactly how I feel about those two sentences too. I like to study English. I like studying English. Do you think you prefer saying one over the other, or do you think it's just completely depending on your mood, how you feel, what you're talking about? What are your thoughts on that right there?
I'm just trying to think if there are some examples. So there's definitely certain verbs where you do have to use one or the other, but like, hate, kind of those two that are, the most common when we're talking about our hobbies or things we do often, things we don't do often. I feel like in my daily life, I think I use them exactly the same. I'm trying to see if there's like a little bit more leaning this way, a little bit more leaning that way, but no, I'd use them the same.
And I was trying to think of, me, do I use to studying? I feel like I'm just like you. I mean, the more I think about it, the more confused I get. And
exactly.
The more I don't even know which one I use. Right?
And like when we started, I felt like I had an answer, and then I thought about it and was like, no, hold on a minute. Nope. So for native speakers, it's really even difficult for us to answer this because we don't learn this out of a textbook, really. I mean, we go over it in like 5th grade English. I do remember specifically learning gerund because I just really liked that name. And that's the ing one. I really just kind of liked like, ooh, this is like a fun English term, because English terms are usually really boring or kind of very long and not interesting. Yeah.
Now, I'm just going to give you rules that I actually found on the internet. And this is coming from the Japanese textbooks. So I've actually have never seen these rules ever in my life. So it was something new for me. And I'm going to throw these rules at you. And you could tell me whether or not you think these rules apply to whether you use the infinitive form or the gerund form. All right.
This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, right. So you always learn something new, right? So according to a source that I saw on the internet, and of course you could never trust anything on the internet, but
guys, remember that. Don't trust the internet. Trust this version of the internet, but don't trust the rest of the internet.
This video you can trust, but anything else, always be very, very skeptical. So the infinitive form, it says that it's generally used for things that are going to happen in the future, something that you are planning on doing in the future.
Okay.
Kind of confusing. And another part that was added to this infinitive form is something that you do habitually, something that you do as a habit. But there is like a focus on using the infinitive as a form of something you do in the future. Gerunds. When do you use gerunds? Gerunds are typically used when it's happening right now or something that is being repeated. Now, this is kind of confusing because something that is being repeated to me sounds like something that is habitual. So this is where like it's kind of throwing me off here.
Right? Almost exactly the same explanation. Sure.
Yeah. But there was another additional information. If infinitive is talking about the future, then gerunds are referring to the past, as in it's something that you have experienced in the past, and that's when you use gerunds.
That one I don't think I agree on.
Okay, so there we go. Uh-huh. Perfect. I love it. All right. So let me hear your thoughts on this.
So the way that it was always explained to me, and again, maybe I'm just remembering gerund because I was like, that's a cool name. Gerund is always an ing. So fishing, hiking, skiing, buying, playing, eating, right? And it's a verb that acts as a noun, usually at the beginning of a sentence. Now, obviously, that's not always right. There's a lot of examples where that's not going to happen. But for example, studying English is fun. To study English is fun. That second one sounds a little bit weird, right? So that ing is kind of, I always thought it was really cool because you could take a verb and like sneak it into a noun spot. It felt like you were like doing something creative or like cheating the grammar rules a little bit. And that's kind of the more common way that I've heard it explained. So yes, we do have that kind of habit, but if I say fishing isn't fun, that doesn't mean that I've been fishing as a habit. That just means that action, that activity, fishing, for me, I'm not interested in it. So I think there's a little bit of where that explanation is almost getting too specific, and there's certain times where you would still use the infinitive or the gerund that aren't habits, aren't things happening in the future, aren't things that happened in the past. So I'd be a little bit wary of sticking way too strictly to those rules, if that makes sense.
And that's what makes English very complicated, is that there are always exceptions to the rules, right?
Always.
So let's go with the fishing example then. So we'll keep it very simple. I like to fish versus I like fishing, right? So if we go according to the rules that I saw on the internet, I like to fish is maybe has more of a tone of I want to fish, or like somewhere in the future, I like to fish. I don't know, trying my best here.
Right?
Okay, versus like I like fishing, meaning that when you were a kid or when you were younger, you have fished, you have experienced fishing, and you still like to fish.
You just said to fish instead of
there we go. There we go. Okay.
It happens without you noticing.
So I think I like, I hate, I love, all of these ones. It doesn't matter if it's I like to fish, I like fishing. I love to swim, I love swimming. I hate to play sports, I hate playing sports. Honestly, it doesn't matter. But what makes this whole situation complicated is that there are always exceptions to the rule, right? Always. And I'm not going to list all of them right here, right? For example, if you said something like I stop to smoke versus I stop smoking, that has almost two completely different meanings, doesn't it?
Two completely different meanings. And that's where kind of those grammar rules in the textbook are really helpful, but also don't really explain everything. If I say I stopped to smoke, it feels like I was walking and kind of pulled over to the side of the sidewalk and smoked for a minute, finished, and then went walking again. I literally stopped my activity to do a new activity. I stopped smoking means I quit that habit. So it's not even one is right and one is wrong. It's a completely different meaning and completely different sentence.
That is exactly what makes this whole conversation a complicated one, but we're not going to get into the exceptions today. Today, I think the focus really wants to be the I like to, I love to, I hate to, and is it the infinitive or gerund? But I think after having this long conversation, I hate to do this to you guys, but it doesn't really matter, right? It's not that big of a deal. The important thing, like Kelly mentioned, is just remember the exceptions. There are going to be exceptions where certain ones you have to use the infinitive and certain ones you have to use the gerunds. But aside from that, whether you say to play or to go or to sing, to dance, or singing, dancing, playing, not that big of a difference.
Now, do you want to go into some common exceptions though? Like
let's do it. Yeah, I would love to hear that. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. I want to study English. I want studying English.
Never say that, right?
The ing one doesn't work. So want always has to be I want to, and then your verb, 何々, right? So that one's a little bit of a tip off. That's a pretty common one, right? We talk about things you want, things you don't want. So that one would be a good to remember.
What else? Forget's another one, right? I forgot to do my homework versus I forgot doing my homework. That sounds weird.
Yeah, that one, the ing does not work there.
That doesn't work either.
Doing. It sounds like you almost have two verbs too close together, and it's like missing a piece in there. So that's how you can think of that too. I forgot to do my homework. It's kind of connecting those two actions. What did you forget? This action. I forgot doing is just kind of missing that little piece that connects them together. So that might be a good way to think of it as well.
When you were a kid, Kelly, did you learn these exceptions? Like, did you learn it as a rule, or is it just something where you grew up and it just sounds weird to you, right? I hope seeing you, or I want playing sports.
Yeah. I definitely do remember in 4th or 5th grade English, because obviously, you know, at that time, they assume you've been speaking your native language long enough that you can take a test on it, right? 5th grade. We're not talking about like college entrance exams or anything like that. So I specifically remember having that, you know, lesson where they say it's called the infinitive and it's this, it's called the gerund and it's this. And that was about it. It was really just giving a name to the grammar that we always used. But I don't even remember my parents like correcting which one I was using. You just hear them and you know which one is going to sound right and which one's going to sound wrong.
Exactly, right. And I think part of that is, you know, just from speaking to your parents and your friends all the time. It comes from reading a lot of books. It probably comes from watching a lot of TV shows where you hear it over and over and over, where it's always the same combination. You never hear it any other way. So when you do hear it used the other way, you immediately, there's like a red flag, you know, a little bell that goes off in your head where you know that, whoa, that's not right, because it's different from the patterns that you were used to hearing growing up. So
exactly. It's one of those things where if you say it right, we don't notice it at all. If you say it wrong, it's such a huge like ding in your brain that something is wrong. I'm not sure why it sticks out so much, but it definitely is like hardwired that you really, really notice it very quickly.
So there you go, guys. And, you know, we're specifically talking about the exceptions here, but back to what we're talking about. I like to study versus I like studying English. Not a big difference at all, guys. Don't think about it too deeply, but when you do get a chance, just look at some of those exceptions and make sure you use those ones correctly. Alrighty, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed today's lesson. Don't forget, Kelly is an amazing teacher on Cafe Talk. All of her information is in the description below, or you can go to cafetalk.com and find her there. Kelly, thank you very much. See you again.
Good luck, guys.
Bye.